Now we are at Carderock, and
Johnny
this is Johnny Reed.
Johnny Reed.
And Johnny Reed is demonstrating how to pull in the rope on a body belay, a body hip belay.
As his hand remains continuously, his left hand is continuously on that rope, he can stop the action at any time.
And Johnny is teaching Jane, who in this case is simulating a novice climber. He's teaching her how to pull in the rope on a hip belay. She is in turn tied into the cliff, actually to a tree behind her.
We still had money problems. Our novices had to learn to climb in a hell of a hurry.
Now the idea behind this was that the belayer was never to let go of the trailing end of the rope, which is the rope she was holding in her left hand.
He is testing there.
Now, we also developed the idea of testing before climbing, even on practice climbs, so that before a climber actually climbed, and this is myself at the end of the rope, what I'm doing here is I'm taking in some slack and then jumping into the rope. And Jane is supposed to catch me before I reach bottom. Now, to begin with, we use very little slack, like a foot or two, until Jane's technique becomes adequate, and then we increase that. Now Jane is tying herself into the cliff. That rope nearly got away from her.
Some of these instinctive reactions, like her kneeling on that rope, were a lot of fun.
I don't know if it's common to use the overhand knot nowadays, but we used to use that for tying in quite a bit. Now Jane is laying, and here I am tying in.
Square knot with a hitch.
No, that wasn't a square knot. That was a bowline with a hitch at the end. Yeah. And this is climbing up, I believe, Ronnie's Leap.
This guy Wexler is a very graceful climber, sure-footed. The tennis shoes that we were able to get during the war, I noticed your little toe is sticking out.
I was interested in showing the little amount of friction space area on these shoes, these great shoes. Air-conditioned.
There's always a barnacle sticking out that you can use as a handhold, even though your feet are 2/3 out in the air.
Nice, delicate little holes.
With shoes of this kind, we relied mostly on friction. At a later time, when the stiff-soled shoe is developed, then one could climb using the edges as if one were climbing using nails.
On the next climb, John Brim is climbing Minahan's staircase. It depends on faith, friction, and 2 fingernail holes. The key is to remain vertical. If you hug the rock, you are lost. This climb is reminiscent of Herbie's horror.
When your foot begins a shaking and you think you're gonna fall, and what you're hanging on to isn't any good at all, and there's nothing quite within your reach that's half as good to use, that's the time you get the Herbie's horror blues. Oh, the Herbie's horror blues make you feel so low, and you wonder what it is that makes you fall off so, and you tear your hair in deep despair and blame it on your shoes. But we all know it's the Herbie's horror blues.
Even the humidity on a given day would make a big difference in the ability to climb something like this.
Yep, there he pulled, peels off and presumably was caught. Ah, yes. Well, here I am doing the spider walk. And I think I'm supposed to peel off here. Yeah, there it goes. That I can recognize the hands. That's Johnny Reed. And the idea in this sequence was to show the technique of tying in on the ball line. I don't know whether you noticed, but he was...
That's a shoulder belay.
Yeah, that was demonstrating the inadequacy of a shoulder belay, and Johnny Reed is on a balling on a bite. There's a loop around his legs so that when he falls, he can distribute the weight a little bit better. Now he's taking a little bit more slack and he's going to jump into it. Even with a hip belay.
This is Ken Karcher doing the belaying.
Yeah. Even with a hip belay, when a man takes a fall, and just a very short fall of a foot or two, it is very difficult when you're perched like Ken is to really arrest the fall on a resilient belay. Notice when Ken is belaying through a carabiner, he has no trouble whatsoever stopping a fall.